Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. How exciting. Let me just check my sound and everything. Yeah, that's working. That's why you've probably got a bit of extra feedback. Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you all, giving us a wave from wherever it is you may be in the world. Good morning, good evening, good night. We need to send a quick shout out to Jane Barnes. Well done for winning a challenge elsewhere. And I just noticed in the chat you've had another earthquake. So hope you're well and happy and safe. Good to see everybody. It really is. So let's have a look at my notes and see what I've got, because I'm all unprepared as usual. So yeah, I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who has signed up. They're making small donations to support PLD. Quite a few more of you have signed up since we had a little chat in the group the other day. Really appreciate that. That is what keeps this group going. There is a link below this video if anybody wants to go and have a look. Just the cost of a takeaway coffee a month is enough, if enough people do it, to keep us going and to cover the cost of doing it. Yeah, we had an interesting challenge this time. Very interesting ideas, which I thought were quite exciting, and I like the way some of you picked out details without even doing a close-up. I think you're going to love the next challenge. Whilst from the subject of next challenge, the next one, of course, was filmed before the UK went into a lockdown. So quite a few of the examples that I'm showing in the next couple of videos are not taken indoors. But, you know, just do the best you can with what you've got, with the situation that you're in. I'm sure it'll all be fine. So, yeah, look at all these people from all over the place. We've got Germany, Manchester, Ireland, South Africa. Wow. Okay, well, I think the bit which everybody's most interested in is, of course, having a look at some pictures. So why don't I just get a shot set up, get myself ready, and we can plough straight into that. Here we go. Let's have a look at this week's crop of exciting pictures. I really liked this one from Anton, because look at that light on that door. Isn't that some lovely light going on? You've got some great shapes, some great details. It's the light that's making it work, in my opinion, which I think is really, really cool. There's only one thing about it which I find slightly irritating, Anton, and I'm being tough on you because you've done a great job. And that is that little bit of blue up in the top left corner. So I took the liberty of just zooming in onto it, an teeny little bit. And I don't know if you see the difference that that makes just by removing that little bit of blue in the top left corner. Oof. You see, I think that's a cracking shot. What I should have said before we got going is, of course, if you don't get a shout out in tonight's live feedback, it doesn't mean you've made a bad picture. It just means there are too many to be able to speak about them all. And I try to choose images where I think it will help the photographer the most along the way. And of course, we will learn from hearing about each other's work and what each other have been doing. So, yeah. Oh, I'm glad you agree, George. I'm glad you think it looks a bit better too. I do. It's such a tiny thing, you know. Focal length is best friends with composition. And if you can just zoom that lens, sometimes 2 or 3 millimeters, it makes a world of difference. And you would have lost that little bit of blue. Or you could, of course, crop it out afterwards or get a tiny, weeny little bit closer. But it's a great shot, nonetheless. We've got another one here which I particularly like, Denise Savage. I liked this one. I like the softness of it. I like those gentle colours and that very, very fractionally soft background. You've used depth of field really well in this and managed to capture that little cluster of shapes all on their own. You did a really great job. Now, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see this, but I took the liberty of darkening this one just a fraction because it looks an teeny little bit bright on my screen. Guys, can you see the difference? I don't know if you can. I'm just looking at my other monitor here just to see. It's hard. Yeah, there we go. So here we have the original, I think. Or did I brighten it? Do you know what? I can't remember now. I think it was the other way around. Apologies. I think I brightened it a tiny bit. And somewhere down the line I've got it mixed up when I put it into my Wirecast broadcast software. But I think just the slightly brighter one just helps a little teeny bit. It just sort of brings it to life that tiny bit more. And of course, it's very, very difficult to manage this sort of thing because all monitors display light slightly differently. And of course, our eyes make a big difference. If you go to a room where, say, a professional retoucher is working, there tends to have no colour cast. It would be a grey room and the light is managed. It would be artificial light, it would be constant all the time and probably about 20% darker than the brightness of the monitor. Because as the sun goes in and out, our pupils sort of dilate and all the rest of it. So I'm being super picky here, Denise, only because you've got such a great image. But I do like it nonetheless. A similar one here, which I think is an awesome picture from Judith Stewart. I just love the way you spotted that. That is so simple. We've just got sort of yellows and blues and those great shapes. The way you have used those shapes to frame that detail, the bluebird. I really think that is a beautifully put together shot, Judith. Beautifully captured. Again, for me, I just think it could have done with being an teeny bit brighter because I think that wall is quite a bright wall. And then when the camera saw it, it darkened the shot a little bit. I don't know if you're here, please tell me, but I just brightened yours up just a touch as well, just to see how it would look. If you're here, Judith, I'd love to know whether you think that wall in reality was a little bit brighter than that and it should have looked more like that, because it's such a lovely shot. It is such a beautiful shot. It is so well put together. It is so nice. And this is one of those things about walking around, looking around us. Because it's so easy to miss things like this. You know, we're lost in our own little world, our own thoughts, and we're sort of looking at the floor and wondering about tomorrow. And it's really great. It's a good exercise, mindful photography, to get present to our surroundings and just sort of look around a little bit and notice things. I think you probably did quite a lot of work just getting yourself in the right place. We've got a shot here from Nan Kelly. And I like this. I love these reflections and I like these two windows. The difference in textures between the vines, the creeper growing on the wall, and the wood panel. And I'm being hard on you as well, Nan, because I think just a minute tweak to the composition may have helped a bit. And so I also had a little tiny fiddle with your shot and kind of centralised those windows just a tiny weeny bit. What do you think, guys? Does it look better with the windows just slightly off to the left with that slightly larger gap on the right? Or do you think it's a little better when the windows are more centralised? Interesting. And of course you don't have to agree with me. I still think it's a great shot, Nan. Well spotted. And I'm being hard on you. But I think when you have a really strong shape, a really strong graphic shape, it's completely cool to sort of, you know, work with it. It doesn't matter if things are in the middle, if the shot works. I know there's lots of talk about, oh no, you mustn't put things in the middle. Well, you can if it works. I think we had a great shot here as well from Tim. I think that says Thurmond. It does. I look at it on the bigger screen. You got some lovely details in here, Tim. And you got a great exposure and you've spotted something really rather beautiful with that reflection going on. And again, my criticism to you is being a little harsh because it is such a great shot. Anybody want to hazard a guess what I might say? There's two things which I'm going to say, but anybody want to have a guess? What I think would help this immensely. There's two things. They're quite small things, but I really think it would do a great job. Jules, you're saying doesn't look quite sharp, and I know what you mean. I think it's something to do with the way YouTube live broadcast streams, because when I'm looking at this on my monitor in front of me, it does look sharp, but when I look at it over here on the other screen, it looks a tiny bit soft. But the tower was cropped, yes. To me it was having the top of the building cropped off. And what I'm guessing is going on here is you probably didn't have quite wide enough lens to get it all in. You had to make a judgment. Do I go for the reflection or the towers? I don't know. if you could have moved back a little more, but then of course you'd have problems with the reflection. Wide lenses are useful, as you know. I don't always bang on about you must have a wide lens, but you may have been able to do it differently. As opposed to having the whole building, you could possibly have turned the camera the other way up, more concentrated on the left-hand end, or maybe the dome in the middle, and then you could have had reflections and the building and the light and the shapes and the sky without having to crop anything. The other thing which I think would help this hugely is if you had a human shape, a human being in one of those archways, because they're great natural frames. I don't know if anyone's allowed to walk around here or whether it is a private place or what, but I think having a tiny little human being often focuses the viewer's attention and makes us really look somewhere. And this one reminded me of a picture I took about this time last year when I was teaching at the photography festival in Sharjah. And that's this one. It was dark, it was night. It was a very high ISO because I didn't have a tripod. It's handheld. I don't know what I'm on, 1600, 2000 ISO or something. But this guy was walking around and it was a question of waiting and hoping he would align himself in the right place. And he's not perfectly in the arch, but the fact that he's in that little light path that's coming through his knees, frame there, I think it draws attention a bit. And I just think your image, Tim, if you could have had something like that, it would have been really, really cool. I did like this image a lot. Malcolm, you put a lot of work into that. Now, in this case, I am going to say, on my monitor, it doesn't look quite sharp, and I'm being very, very strict on this one because it is such a nice shape. It is a nice detail. I'm not entirely sure it needed the little devil reflected in the drop. I just think it would have worked well with just a little red highlight, because I did read what you did and how you did it, and I know you positioned something to reflect, I think, in the droplet. I'm not sure it needed it, to be honest. It makes it look a little though it's been photoshopped, even though it hasn't. But I do think it's a great attempt. It's a great image. I quite like your idea here, Melody, and it's a really hard thing to photograph wildlife. It really is a very difficult thing, because you have to wait for ages. Wildlife photographers, in my experience, are second only to landscape photographers who wait for days on end for the right light to happen. Wildlife, you really got to wait a long time. And it is a nice shot. There's something about the colours here which look to me a little bit over the top, which to me sort of spoils it. I think if they're a bit more muted, it might look a bit nicer. I don't know if you pump them up a bit, or maybe you've got your camera picture control settings to make it a lot more colourful than it really is. The light isn't perfect, and I'm being harsh again because you have caught a great little detail and a nice little moment, and I do like the way you've framed it. But I just think the colours are just an teeny little bit over the top here. I don't know what you guys think. I'm just watching to see what your comments say. Is Facebook having an impact on focus? Some photos are getting out of focus. Diane, this is indeed a possibility and a problem, and it's not much we can do about it. I know that Facebook has a habit of compressing things when it uploads, and I think there is an optimum size ratio. I'll see if we can find out what it is so you guys know. I'll share it with you. Yeah, but to me, this one of Melodies is really just, the colours are just a little bit too strong, in my opinion. Here's another one that I really liked. Mark Lewis Ansell. I do like this one. I'm going through you guys and I'm hitting hard at some of you guys at the moment. I particularly like the shadowy side of the vein. And I think it's more interesting below that central vein that's going across the top. Because the ones the other side, the light is different. And I'm just wondering maybe if you could have framed it down a little tiny bit and just more concentrated with that darker shadowy area, bringing the lines up towards the light. Maybe put that line, that sort of vein closer to the top, lost a little bit of the top of it. Again, I am being very, very picky here. And also that vein isn't quite straight. I think if you could have got it straight, it would have just helped. That's just a minute turn of the camera. But that's about all. Forgive me when I pause. I'm looking over here just to see what's going on. Gary just said Ansel ? Yeah, it's a very Ansel Adams detail sort of a shot, isn't it? I thought this one of yours, Carol Leather, is it? Is really nice. You've got such great subtle colours and things like that. I'm not sure about the wire. I'm not sure, and that's why I brought this one in here, because it's like, part of me goes, I really love the wire because it's a bit disruptive, and part of me goes, I think it'd be better without it. And so, what do you think, guys? Wire? Can you imagine what it'd be like without the wire? I kind of like the wire, and I like the way you've been very careful again with the alignment of the wire, and we have got this juxtaposition of the wire and the chain. But what do you think, with or without wire? I'm kind of really not sure, but I do think it's a great shot, beautifully exposed, beautifully put together, technically bang on. Some of you are saying a bit more rusty chain. Okay, so the vast majority are going, yeah, you like the wire. Like how the paint has been spared by the wire. Yeah. Yes, I see what you mean. The wire has kind of protected that green paint. Some are with, some are without. As I say, I couldn't choose. And that's why I just thought, well, let's put it in here and just see what you guys thought. We'll put it to the vote. Let you click in some likes. Whoops, shouldn't have said that, should I? Anyway, it's a really lovely shot. It's a good effort. And this, I think, is another great effort. Jean-Paul Kivet. Kivet? I'm not sure. Kivet. I really, really, really like your idea in using just the edge of the glasses, the spectacles, as that point of focus. But for me, it's not quite working, because even though we've got that little reflection, that little, thing of, I don't know what they are, drumsticks or it's a pool cue, isn't it? I can see now. Even though there's that little reflection in there, it's just that tiny bit too small. Somehow I think possibly a little more light on the side of his face. Maybe if you could have got in a little closer, a little bit more focal length. But it's great creative thinking. And I love the lines with the pool cue and the pool ball, and I guess it's another ball up near the the side cushion, and then of course the reflection is making it look like another ball, which is why I kind of got confused and went, are those drumsticks? I do think it's a fabulous idea. And it's a shame because it doesn't quite work. Janet, I know what you're saying. Yes, okay. You're saying, yeah, we can't see the face. No, I get it. But we're kind of looking past the ear. And I think this is where a tiny little bit of light might have helped, because then we'd realise we're looking past someone's ear and we're kind of looking through a little portion of their glasses. Really hard thing to achieve with a shot like this, but it is such a clever idea, such a beautifully spotted detail. I kind of had to bring this one into the game to have a chat about, to have a look. Pedro, I like your idea here with the cobweb, because it's a beautifully done cobweb. You've got great backlight coming through and all those little drops. But I find that shape on the left is just too strong, it's too heavy. Again, I'm giving you a really hard time because you've got such a great shot going on here. I'm just wondering, maybe if you could have either come in closer so that it's not quite so dominant, that shape. I find the two shapes are fighting a little. Or possibly, not knowing what the surroundings are, could you have made a little more surrounding? And so that, again, that shape would be less dominant because it would be smaller in the frame. I don't know how much cobweb you had to play with. But I just think it might have worked. Yeah, exactly. If you were just saying shame about the shape, yes, because it's sort of overtaking a beautifully executed, perfectly exposed shot of the dewdrops on the cobweb. Stephen James Barnett. I like this one. And I think those are some crazy colours. I just needed to ask, it's like, have you increased the colour saturation a bit? It looks a little bit as though you have. Just going on the greens as well in the background. If you did, I don't think it needed it, but it is a well executed shot. You know, you've got a nice shallow depth of field, you've sandwiched the mushrooms between the foreground and the background, and they really stand out, and you know, they're an amazing colour. Totally weird. I wonder what, oh hang on, did you put a variety in there somewhere? Alien Shrooms, Amethyst Deceiver, great name. I think it's fantastic. Really, really interesting. It's just, there's, I don't know, some of the blues as well in the wood, they just look a little bit like they're just a tiny bit oversaturated. That's all. Now, I want to have a little look here at a little bit of hot zebra action, or zebra action, I guess, depending on where you are. James. Again, you've got a beautifully, technically well created and crafted shot. I like the fact that it's in black and white, everything's in focus, exposure's spot on, and all that kind of stuff. There's a little bit of post-production stuff going on. You see the halo around the zebra's belly, going on up round under his throat, around his legs. So it looks to me as though you've probably done a bit of brushwork to try and pull up that background detail. I can see where you're going with that. It's hard work, isn't it, getting that spot on. I don't know what software you use to do it. It's okay, but I just think the halo is a little bit strong. The other thing is, I'm just wondering, it's like we've got a frame full of the detail. It's like the whole zebra is the detail. And I can't help but wonder whether or not, if you could have pulled back a bit, I don't know what the surroundings are, whether the zebra would have stood out really well in its surroundings and then the detail would have been the zebra, whereas at the moment we're not quite sure which bit of zebra to look at. And that's really all there is to it. Now, this one I have to say nearly went into my shortlist shout-outs, but we're getting so many good things from this lady that I just thought I need to give someone else a go. But it is a fabulous example of the same creature, isn't it? You know, you're obviously a very talented photographer, Hayley. There's no question, is there? I think we would all agree with that. It's well spotted, it's really well put together. Noticing how those lines work. It is a great shot, and I'm sorry, the only reason you're not in my shortlist shout-outs again is because you're in there so often. But it is a beautifully done shot, nonetheless, so you sort of got a shortlist shout-out. And I really wanted to bring this one up just to sort of show James, because this is the kind of thing you want to be looking for, James. It is a really difficult thing to do. It's a very difficult thing to do, and often takes an awful lot of time and an awful lot of patience. But good on you. Keep going. Keep going. We've got another beautiful shot here as well, from Roland. It's really nice. You've got some lovely light. You've got some great shapes going on. Freshly baked loaf of bread, late afternoon sun, great natural light, fabulous. My feeling is there's like too much, we're not quite sure where to look. There's lots of detail there, but it's like which bit of the image, within the image, which bit of the detail are we supposed to be looking at? And I'm just wondering if you've got this beautiful loaf of newly baked bread with all those great textures, fantastic light going on all around it. Would it maybe have worked if you'd come back a bit and just used the whole loaf as the detail on a table? You've obviously got some nice light. Maybe you could have blocked a bit of light from somewhere so that another part of a table or a still life was shaded, and then you'd use the light just to pick out the detail, which would be the whole loaf rather than just a bit of it. Because it is a really beautifully exposed, beautiful looking piece of bread. We've got another gorgeous shot here as well, which is it's a very, very close detail from Yvonne. And again, it's technically excellent, and I like your composition, and I like that little juxtaposition between the pebbles and the rocks. You've even got a little bit of a shallow depth field going on to try and help it. But I'm wondering if maybe we gave it a little bit more, because it's such a strong detail, that rope. I love the different colours, you know, and the textures. It's great light, it's soft light, but it works really, really well on this. And I just wonder if coming back, giving it a little bit more space around the pebbles that it is within, it might have been a tiny bit stronger. I don't know, I could be wrong. But I do think it is a beautifully put together shot. We've got a nice one here, Ian, nice idea. Hang on, just before I go any further, I just want to say, so sorry guys, I gave you a really hard time because you produced some great work, but I just needed to try and push you that bit further, play the coach. Ian Pritchard. I can see where you're going here. You spotted some, you know, nice little berries. There's some great little highlights on there. The background is just a hint busy. And again, I wonder if rather than filling the frame with the detail, you could have just come back a bit and possibly brightened the shot up a bit, giving it just a little bit more exposure. Now, I don't know which mode you're shooting in, but again, of course, you can shoot in a semi-auto mode and still control your exposure with the exposure compensation. If you're shooting manually and you just do what the light meter tells you, then it's the same as being on auto, because it's the light meter that's in control instead of you. The light meter is generally speaking right. I'm not going to say it isn't, but there are times when you have a brighter background, such as you have here, and the meter will see that brightness and go, whoa, and it'll darken your shot down a bit. That's the time for you to step in and go, no, camera, no, 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 I want these berries a little bit brighter than this. And then you can either manually give it a bit more exposure with your shutter or whatever, or if you're shooting in a semi-auto mode, give it a bit more exposure compensation. If you're confused by what I just said, then please go take a look at my Ultimate Beginner's course. It's ultimate because it explains all these things. There's only a few things on a camera you actually need to know. The most important things are things like that understanding how the light meter works, and therefore you can make creative choices around it. Because exposure is also part of composition in my thinking. You're composing the picture, and how bright or how dark it is all part of your work, but it's a really cool one. Ian, nice to see you, so I'm glad you're here. There's a river running underneath it. Yeah, I saw somebody posted that it looked like chicken wire, but yeah, I didn't think it did. I think it's other twigs, isn't it? And that explains exactly what I think is going on. You've got a river running underneath, and you've probably got a bright highlight, some light reflecting off the river, and that's what we're seeing in the background. And that is what is confusing your camera a bit, and it's possibly darkened the exposure a little bit. It's one of those annoying things that cameras do. We just have to kind of be on top of, and it's just practice. If you can practice it often enough, you kind of get to notice things. You think, oh, I like that shot, but look at that brightness in the background. That's going to mess the old camera up. I need to step in. We got another beautiful one here from Cheryl Fisher. Beautifully put together shot. It is. I can't really knock it, but I'm playing photo coach again and being tough, I'm afraid. Because I think with that shape, it would have just worked better had it been in the middle of the frame. And maybe if you'd shot it more vertically, given it more height, more space, you could have had that gorgeous detail, that leaf at the bottom. You've got such fine depth of field going on that it wouldn't have mattered. And I think it would have been very strong had it been maybe a vertical shot with that lovely triangular leaf kind of in the middle, but very low down in the frame, right near the bottom, with some empty negative space above it, because we'd have a lot of space, but bang, we go straight in, we'd know where to look. But it is nonetheless a great shot. I'm just having a look to see if Cheryl's here, if she wants to say anything, because I'm being harsh. Tonight I am being harsh. I'm being the bad coach tonight. I'm the one who's giving you hell. But it's a beautiful shot, well spotted, good camera angle. Just think maybe a couple of little things could have helped to lift it just that little bit. I'm doing it again, guys, with Joss. Because you've got some gorgeous light going on here on these fungus. Really gorgeous light. It is an interesting shot. But the fungus are kind of filling the frame really quite strongly, where that back fungus, which is kind of slightly out of focus, you know, a little bit soft. That's fine, but it's just the way it's kind of touching the edge. I just can't help feeling that with such great light highlighting what your detail is, you didn't have to get that close. You could have backed up a bit, given it a little bit more space against that lovely soft background. The other thing worth watching would be that blade of grass. Now, I'd love to know if you're here, Joss. I'd love to know if you're here, because if you are, I'd love to get a comment, because there's a picture I took in Switzerland ages ago. It's in a YouTube video, and I put a little thing, do you like the twigs or not? And lots of people go, for goodness sake, get rid of those twigs. They drive me mad. They were poking in the corner of the picture. And initially, I just took the shot and thought I might just take them out afterwards. But when I did take them out, I thought, no, I prefer them being in there. And I'm just wondering if this is a similar thing with you and this blade of grass. Personally, I find it a little bit of a distraction. I think a little bit more space around those fungus, because you've got gorgeous light there, which is picking them out from their surroundings. And I don't think you needed to come in so close. I think it would have worked. Glyn, are you aware of that particular video? And you're just saying get rid of the twig, because most people do. But I like my twig. I like my twig. Yes, I'm just going to backtrack here, by the way, guys. Joss, beautiful use of light. And again, Cheryl, gorgeous use of light. There's a lot of beautiful use of light coming on through here, which I think is really, really exciting. Sorry, I forgot to put that one on. Cheryl's leaf. You know, it's beautiful light. It's coming through from behind predominantly, and that's what's giving it its shape. That's what's making those little droplets of water sparkle. Foggy Armstrong. There's things about this I like a lot, and things that to me don't quite work. I like the idea, and I like the composition. I kind of like the camera angle. I think it's good fun, you know, having the needle and the thread, and then you've got the tape measure and the sewing accessories. The background is just a tiny bit bright, and I think it's that tape measure. Maybe it's just reflecting the light. I was wondering if maybe if you could have moved it a tiny bit, it might not have reflected quite so much. And it wouldn't have been quite so dominant because it's such a big bright area there. The other thing is that I think it's a pin with what looks like a little pearl head on it. Because it's in the same plane as the needle, they're both sharp against the background. And I don't know about you guys, I'm finding my eye bouncing between the needle and the pearl, the needle and the pearl, needle or pearl, needle or pearl. Take the money, open the box, take the money, open the box. No, needle or pearl, needle or pearl. And I've got that thing going on. Maybe if the pearl was back a tiny bit, so it was just a bit soft, that could have helped as well. But the slightly busiest thing about it is, I don't mind the busy background, it's just that there's just a little bit too much of that brightness. Or if you could have found a way to highlight the needle against the brightness, so just the needle was sharp, and somehow the tape measure was hanging down and really bright, and then it would have framed up the needle. Then I think you'd have got away with it too. These things are very subtle. Very subtle. Thank you, Bear Clive. Take the money, always. Don't look in the box. I like your idea here, Christian Ann Thompson. There's something here, and I get it. I can see why it drew your attention. And it's those complementary colours, isn't it? It's that sort of turquoisey blue with the sort of magenta-y pink door. Those opposing colours work. I'm sorry, the shot isn't that well executed. There is a shot here, undoubtedly, and I'm not quite sure how you could have liberated it. Whether it was a question of just going for the shape against, you know, the colour of the door, maybe from a slightly different angle, maybe with a longer lens, maybe by getting in closer, maybe using, you know, the filler cap shape. I think it would take a lot of experimentation. I totally get where you're going. I totally get it, Anne Christian. I totally get it. And it's one of those things that would be bemusing. And I know myself, I'd probably find myself there for quite a long time. And if I was with someone driving them nuts, I'd go, why are you messing about with this car and a bloody door? But I would, because I'd be thinking, there's a picture in here somewhere, and I'm not quite sure how to liberate it, because right now we're not quite sure where we're meant to look. But it's a great, well-spotted thing. It's a great subject, and I'm not sure what it needs to liberate it. Now here's a fine liberated creature here from Nicholas Helm. You've got gorgeous light going on, Nicholas. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous light. And a lovely kind of slightly soft foresty background. The light is picking out your detail brilliantly. You've got a great big gribbly detail with fantastic wide handlebars. And I do like it a lot. My coaching to you is maybe give it a bit more space, because it looks like the top of the shot's been cut off. It looks like it's cropped a bit. Maybe if you could have got a tiny bit lower. I don't mind the foreground wall. I'm not sure it needs the foreground wall, but I don't mind it. Maybe if you could have gone a tiny bit lower, you could have reduced the gap between the wall and the cow. But maybe also you could have included a little bit more of those trees. I think the trees would help it. I really, really do, because it looks like there's a lot more tree to go before you'd hit some bright sky. But you have got some gorgeous light going on there. Absolutely fabulous. Well spotted, and a well separated detail in the shape of a big gribbly animal with huge handlebars. Yeah, let's have a little foreground competition, guys, because I've seen a few comments going not sure about the foreground and stuff. Here we go. Get your thumb out. Let's see those thumbs. And just kind of, or a finger. I'm finding the finger, I'm making sure it's not dirty or got a bogey on it or something. The finger approach is better. Just get your finger and let's just take off the wall. You just kind of line it up like that. You know what? I hadn't thought of that. I think you're right. I think it's stronger. Guys, what do you think? Get your fingers out. I really want to see those fingers. And just hold them at arm's length and just put them across the bottom of the wall there. Just take out the wall. Because actually, bang, you're right into our woolly beast. So maybe woolly beast a little bit lower because you've got that gorgeous pool of light. More trees above. I don't think we needed the foreground. Well spotted, whoever said that. Well spotted. The old finger trick, it works a treat. Cat Pat. Two beautiful details. And I think somebody's waving two fingers. I like that. Two details. Beautiful textures going on in here. Beautiful textures, but again, we're bouncing between the roses. It's the war of the roses all over again. We're bouncing between the roses. Big row, small rows, big row, small rows. Don't know. Maybe if you could have had the two roses, but again, as opposed to filling the frame with roses, maybe had some more of that dark background, because then the two of them would kind of work together and pop out, because we'd have a bit of leafy, dark texture, and then the roses. If you're here, Kat, I'd love to hear from you. But you know, technically, it's a great shot. Nice light. Even though it's quite strong light for a flower, it still sort of works. But I think maybe one flower, or give them a bit more space. Give them a bit more space. That's an interesting thought. Ken just said maybe three. Yeah. Oh, actually, a few of you have said that. I apologise. Yeah, maybe three would help. That could be quite nice, actually. A little cluster of three. Always enjoy a threesome. Little cluster of three with some space around. I think that would be quite nice. Three is a powerful number when you start putting things into images and all the rest of it. Three does work really quite well. What else we got here? Oh, some really great textures going on here from Vidas. I think that's Vidas. Excuse me, because my eyesight is rubbish and this screen is so tiny. Vidas Satutas. You've got some great textures going on here, no question. Beautiful use of light. Black and white is the right thing to do here. But again, I'm not quite sure where I'm looking. My eye's running around the frame and I'm going, yeah, I get it. There's one big detail, but I'm not quite sure which part of this frame I'm meant to look at. Beautiful textures, black and white's right. There's lots of things I like, but I'm not sure where to look. I feel I need a little focus point somehow, a place to look. Part of me is wondering whether maybe where those two panes of glass sort of join against that, you know, crumbly, rotten wood, maybe if it was to one side a bit or in a crazy place within the frame, maybe just the lines there would make me go there. There's something not quite making it work, but fabulous textures, interesting light. Black and white was exactly the right choice. And, you know, I love the kind of dirt on the windows. Reminds me of my bedroom. This one I like. Mary Beth. This one actually really stood out to me and I kept coming back to it. And I can see, yeah, you just said you're a beginner here, so welcome. Thank you for coming. Thank you for posting. Look forward to seeing some more. Because you have achieved something here in a very interesting way, in my opinion. We've got a composition which in theory breaks the rules because, you know, they say don't listen to them. Whatever you do, they, whoever they are, don't listen to them. They say don't put the subject in the middle, blow it out your ass, put the subject wherever looks great. You've got a shallow depth of field, great job. That is making us look at the mushroom. And I kind of like all those scraggly details going on around it. I really do, because it's a shape thing. What tells us what the detail is it is so stark, standing upright and proud, right in the middle. It is absolutely magical to me, and I love the twigs and the shapes you've got going on around it. I like the fact you've got down so low to really look at it side on. The colours look a little bit over the top to me. There's some very strong blue highlights going on along some of the blacks. I'm not quite sure what's causing it. But please keep going. Please keep going, because there's lots of things about this I like a lot. It's a very clever picture to be able to take a tiny detail and have it so small in the frame and so much going on around it, and yet, bang, we know what we're supposed to look at. It's really cool. Nice one. Look forward to seeing some more from you. Hang on, I'm going to read a couple of comments here before we come off that one, because I can see there's a few. Calm in the world of confusion. That's a good one, Ken. Yeah, it is indeed calm in the world of confusion. Simon was just saying go closer to the mushroom. I'm not entirely sure it needs it. I quite like the space. But again, of course, this is just personal opinion. Lorraine wants to know what's with all the mushrooms. Yeah, it's that time of year in the UK, isn't it? In the northern hemisphere, let's say. Interesting. Hey, you're welcome, Maribeth. Glad you're here. Come along to the live. Monica's just saying, do we need quite so much foreground? To me, in this case, I think it kind of works. Now, when we were looking at our cow with the big handlebars, somehow the foreground distracted. It's such a subtle thing, whereas in this case I find, even though there's a lot of foreground, it kind of leads to rather than distracts from. There is no rule for this, of course, there isn't a rule for it. It is purely a question of looking and seeing what happens and thinking, does that work or not? I'm not sure. Maybe, maybe not. But anyway, nonetheless, I think it's a great shot. Simon, LRPS, Simon Chiapara. I like your idea. I do like it. There's things about this I like quite a lot. I like all the crustiness. The other one reminded me of my bedroom. This one reminds me of the living room. It's great. My only thing is, and this is a pure taste thing. This isn't a criticism, this is a taste thing, and I'm throwing it open to say, what do you think, guys? I just think it's a little too contrasty, that's all. I think we've got some great details, we've got some great shapes. I'd love to know if this is your living room, because if it is, I salute you, sir. Great decor. I just think the contrast is just a little too strong. I just think it would look better if it wasn't quite so contrasty, that's all. What do you think, guys? Do you think the contrast works or not? Because high contrast is, of course, very popular. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just opening a little discussion here, really. Okay, so we've got a couple of people saying the bottles are a little too dark. We've got Ivana saying you like the contrast, which is completely cool. Rob saying looks a little over-processed. And I think, yeah, I think that's probably where I'm going. The contrast is so strong, it looks like it's been fiddled with a bit. That's just my thinking. Bit overcooked. But I do like it. I do like it. And of course the detail, I don't know what you think, guys. To me, the detail is the candelabra. Because, you know, all the other thing is structure, other than that we've got the bottles and they're repeating, and the thing which is on its own is, of course, the candelabra. And I think the candelabra actually would have been a bit stronger if it wasn't quite so contrasty, if there were a few more subtler tones of grey going on in there. But it is really nice. Mike Ranger has got a beautiful desktop pattern going on here. You know, I can just see that on computer desktops all over the world. Lovely colours. Just lovely colours. My thing here is I'm not quite sure where to look. Now we've got that one yellow leaf, which I'm guessing is the one that's the detail. That's the one that's sort of standing out a bit from the crowd, that particularly yellow one, just sort of off centre to the left. But I'm not sure the yellow is quite strong enough, whereas those green leaves are very strong. And I can't help wonder if a little bit of human intervention here, maybe picking out some of the other green leaves and leaving all the other colours. And then I think if you had the one green leaf in amongst all those reds and oranges and yellows, then I think we'd have gone, bam, we're looking at the green one, and kept all the space. But it is a beautiful picture. It really is, Mike. It is the sort of thing I would see on the wall, but I'm just going within the context of picking out a detail. The next challenge is kind of similar. You'll see when you get there. But anyway, you'll see. But it is a great shot. And I think we got another interesting shot here, Evelyn. I like the way you've done it. I particularly like the way you've lit it. And I love the way you created this shadow. And I'm being hard on you because it is a well-crafted photograph, but it's not quite straight. It's somehow the bottle looks like it's going woo, 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 before it falls over. Also, I'm not quite sure where the detail element is. It is a bottle of Chanel perfume, beautifully lit. Love the shadow. I think it's really cool, but I'm not quite sure where the specific detail of it is, and it's just that the bottle looks to me like it's just leaning forward a little bit. But I like your thinking. I'm just having a look. Shadow becomes the main part of the composition. Absolutely, yeah. The shadow is really, really strong. And maybe that's where you were going with it. Maybe the detail was the shadow. Maybe I have missed something, because this is, of course, you know, all open to interpretation. Have I missed something? Quite possibly. What do you think, guys? Let's have a chat, you know? What do you think? Okay, Jenny's saying maybe the label is the detail. Yeah. Okay, it's your genie. Evelyn, welcome. Hello. I get it. Okay, I get it. I get it now. I get it. You've let your genie out of the bottle kind of thing. And you've done it. Yeah, okay. I kind of get it. I missed something. But nonetheless, I still think the bottle's falling over a little bit. I don't know if there was a way we could have shifted emphasis a bit more onto the genie, but loads of work you put into that, and good on you. Congratulations. Angela Gledhill, you've got a very fine high-key shot of a shell here. This is you guys that are good at it, by the way. You guys are getting a kick in tonight, aren't you? You have got a beautiful shot of a shell on a very nice, seamless background. Very creamy, says Seppo. And I agree. And I agree. The only thing I'm going to say that I think could have improved this a little bit is the depth of field is so shallow. It's kind of running along the texture on the just below the front lip of the shell. And that beautiful little conical spiral is going soft. The depth of field is very, very shallow. Now, maybe you shot this with a macro lens. I don't know how big the shell is. And of course, if you're very close with a macro lens, even if you're at f22, your depth of field is about, what, the width of my little finger, if that. I think it would be nicer if we just had the depth of field stretching back through the shell, because it is so separated by the background. You've got great light, you've got lovely kind of light coming in down from the side, that gentle little bit of shadow. We've got a little bit of detail going on inside the shed, and the shed, the shell. And you haven't lost the definition around the rear lip of the shell against the background. So it is a very accomplished photo, it really is. If it was possible to get a little tiny fraction more depth of field, I really think it would have worked well. I'm just looking in the comments just to see if you're here, Angela, because if you were, it'd be lovely to hear from you. I can't see, no, I don't think you're here. But that's cool. We've got a great cheesy picture here from David Bennett. And I do like this shot. Again, I like it. I'm not knocking it. My brother and I believe that everything in the world happens because of cheese. It'd be a dull old world if there was no cheese, as far as I'm concerned. And I like where you're going, and I guess the detail is the knife, is the word cheese in the knife. I like the apple and the cheese. Cheese and apple, wonderful thing. I'm just feeling that actually you could do with a hint more depth of field. It's a similar thing, that's why I put them next to each other. The depth of field is very, very shallow, and we sort of just got an H and an E, and I think the word cheese, if you could have just expanded that a little tiny bit and still let the bowl and the apples could have done with even a tiny bit sharper. It's a very yellow light. I think could have done with ink slightly brighter. I don't mind the yellow colour cast. It gives me a sort of a warm country kitchen feeling to it. It's a great shot. I don't know. I just think possibly again a little hint more depth of field. We've got a very interesting one here. Now you see, I'm choosing ones that I find difficult tonight. Because Travis, I love your detail. I love the way you have separated your little tortoise head, I guess it is, little turtle head or something poking out of a pond. I think it's great. We know exactly where to look. Nonetheless, I'm kind of slightly puzzled by it, by that great big dark heavy bit at the back, which is fighting, which is a shame because I think it's a terrapin. Hi Travis, thanks for being here. It is great. It's a great little detail. It's a great little detail. That reflection is really, really annoying, isn't it? I don't know if your little terrapin happened to come a little bit closer and you could have maybe kind of got rid of a bit of it. I love the space you've given it. I really do. Maybe a little bit less of it could have helped because the detail is so strong. It's cheeky and it's fun. No, it's not a crocodile twig, the shadow. It's a terrapin. It made me chuckle. What do we got here? Vero. I'm not sure how I pronounce your name. Veramoga, Timisoara. I've been to Timisoara a few times. I spent 3 years doing 3 years nearly doing a project in Arad and Timisoara around that area. And I like your idea a lot. And I think this is another example where you could have still picked out this detail, but given it more space. Yeah, I know. Anyone who knows me, yeah, I'm a negative space junkie. I like space. But the fact that you've got this lovely red padlock, you know, locked onto the bridge. Somebody loves Timisoara. I don't know why. Central Town Plaza is beautiful, looking up to the cathedral. I think the colour would have worked. I think more of the locks, because you know all these rusty padlocks going on all around it, and then this sort of pink heart-shaped one. I think the detail would have stood out almost stronger with just a little bit more space. Plus, you've got that highlight. You see the highlight running in the water below? With just a tiny, tiny movement to your left, you could have kind of placed that highlight straight down through that pinky red heart-shaped padlock, and maybe had a few others. And then I think that detail would have really popped from amongst all the others around it. But it's a great little shot. It's a great shape. Nick Humphrey, stop it. I've been avoiding that comment. It's a beautiful shot. I'm sorry, Vero, I get sidetracked. I can't help it. I'm only 4. You have got a great shot, and I don't know if you come from Timisoara, it's your hometown or something. Say hello to Timisoara for me when you go there again. I like this one from Lindy. I think you've got a great shot here, Lindy. I love it. I know where I'm supposed to look. I know what the detail is. Detail is the foot, isn't it? It's a detail. It's a foot walking in the forest. Unfortunately, we've got a little bit of additional foot on the other side. Now, these shots are hard to get right. I don't know if you're here. I'd love to know if you sort of shot this as you were walking or whether you got someone to do the stage thing. Either way, it doesn't matter. There's no right or wrong with this. There's no right or wrong with this. What I'm thinking is there are things that work here really well. I love the forest floor. I love the feeling of going for a walk. I totally get it. Seeing the heel of the other foot is just slightly distracting. I think it also could have been stronger. Maybe if you could have included more of the leaves below, done something really brave and a bit crazy with the composition, and maybe had that one foot higher up in the frame, or possibly both feet. It's like either having them both in or just one in, just, you know, the back view of the boot tread. But I can't help thinking that this would look great if there was more going on below, maybe some more of those gorgeous leaves and textures coming up to the foot. We're really walking in the forest. We're going somewhere. We're going somewhere. Love the logo on the sole. I'm missing something somewhere, I think. You lot are having one of your private jokes again, aren't you? Paul Lynn. You've got some amazing sort of details going on here. Unfortunately, they're fighting with each other again. It's a really interesting, I don't know what this machine is, 1920s, oh, it's a pianola. There's lots of interesting details. There's obviously some very, very nice light happening in there. And I can't help wondering if you could have found a way to possibly pick something, a unique part of it, because there's a bit too much going on where you've got the pianola roll, you know, with the holes in it, and then we've got the mechanism, and again, we're not quite sure where to look. I find the yellow at the bottom sort of draws my eye, and then I'm going, yeah, but I'm interested by the mechanical stuff on the right. I wonder if there could have been a way to pick out a particular bit. A little thing which works, guys, is something called subtractive lighting. So you might have some great light like this, but it's falling everywhere. So let's say we wanted to just pick out that cogwheel with the chain and make it stand out from everything else. Not lose everything else, but make that particular part of the picture stand out. If you could have either positioned some cards, some cardboard, something like that, just to cast a little bit of a shadow either side of the chain, that would have done the job, because then the light would have separated it out a little bit. Maybe your hand holding, you can't position card, I don't know. Sometimes you can if you hold with one hand, you can sort of kind of like get your arm up and sort of make weird shapes and possibly cast a little bit of a shadow somewhere. But well spotted, you know, well spotted for seeing those details. I just feel we need just one of them to pop out and stand out a little bit better. There's obviously a long conversation going on in the chat which I can't follow and do this at the same time, so apologies. This is a charming little picture from Sandy Frew, and there's so many things about this that I like. Obviously the expression of the sparrow, who just looks too pleased with itself to be believed. It's just like, you know, that sparrow is giving us a privilege, you know. It's kind of like, yeah, okay guys, I'll let you look at me for a minute. It just looks so chuffed and proud of itself. It's a really great little expression. The light coming through the tail feathers is absolutely gorgeous. And I love, I'm guessing it's your hand, Sandy, I love that kind of work-stained hand going on there. I think it's great. I think it's great. You said you snapped it with your phone. No problem with that at all. I don't care what camera anyone uses. I'm just wondering if maybe you've got your little sparrow on your fingers here, you've got your phone here, if you could have just kind of gone like that and lost that road sign behind, and maybe just moved your head a fraction so we weren't cutting the tail feathers, maybe even just kind of, here's another movement, you know, like if you could have just kind of gone down a bit too, we'd have lost all that bright sky, we'd have lost the road sign and just kept in those tail feathers. If you could have just done a little movement maybe like that, I think you'd have had an absolutely cracking picture, because the bright sky and the road sign are fighting with that unbelievably proud sparrow. I think it's great. I'd rather have that than a duck any day. It was probably stupid saying that, wasn't it? It's going to cause problems. I like this one, Ian. There's some lovely light going on here. I haven't shown you the picture, have I? Because I clicked the wrong thing. Sorry, Gary was saying, yeah, with the risk of losing the bird. Yeah, possibly. Although I did see in the comments that you were ringing them, so you were marking them, I guess, so you can check where they're going and what they're doing or something. So I'm guessing you're holding, you've got a little bit of pressure on its foot, so actually it's not going to just fly off. I could be wrong, but that's the way I kind of got it, because I did look. Marianne. Ian. You've spotted some gorgeous light, and you have separated out the detail using that light. There's a little bit of depth of field play going on, of course, because, you know, we've got a slightly soft background. But that highlight on the little vase and those little, I don't know what the plant is, those little sort of berries or seeds or pods or whatever it is that's cascading down the side, they're picking up this beautiful little backlight. And you are picking out an area of the shot, a detail within the shot, and it's a combination of light and depth of field. It's really nicely done. My only kind of constructive criticism is like, I'm not sure we need that hard edge of, I'm guessing it's a window or a cabinet or something. The light's picking up on the edge of it, and those bars across the front are just slightly distracting. I don't know quite whether you could have slightly changed the angle a little bit, but you've done a really great job of spotting something, Ian, and it's really well done. Right, that takes us almost exactly on the hour. I don't know about you, but those hours go so quickly for me. That's gone so quick. I love looking at your pictures. I love watching how so many of you guys have evolved over a number of months, and you know, and it's all because you're putting in the work. I'm not really doing much. I'm kind of showing you some ideas, but you guys that are doing the challenges, that are putting in the effort, that are doing the work, watching some of you evolve massively. Yes, of course, there's some obvious kind of talents who are present amongst us, who are you know, very, very good at what they're doing. But also, it really interests me just watching the evolution of many. And there are some who came in with a great talent who've got an even greater talent. And it's just in the doing, it's in the practice, it's in the work. You know, cameras don't take pictures, you take pictures. And you're doing a great job. So let's have a look at our shortlist shout-outs, because there's quite a lot of those too. Dean, we hear from you quite a lot too, and I didn't put you in here either, along with Haley, because we hear from you quite often. I've no idea what this is, but it is just an interesting detail. Obviously, it's the end of something. I don't know whether it's paper. I really don't know what it is. If you're here, Dean, I'd just like to know. Yeah, I wondered that as well, Moose. And Delarice, yeah, lots of people think that. It could be tissues. I don't know what it is. I guess there's a bit of red filtered light. Yes, I don't know how you're doing it. I really don't. I just think it's a great shot. There's not much else I can say. Dean, hi. It's a kitchen roll. One end of a kitchen roll. Yeah, I get it now. I get it. How did you do the red light? I'm really intrigued. Maybe you said in the comments and I haven't found it or read it. It is just beautifully done. However you did that highlight in the background is nice, and you got that gorgeous little bit of light just caressing sideways, which is giving it such wonderful texture. We know precisely where we're looking. Very nice. We got another, I think, so simple. This one is so simple, Petro. I'm genuinely not joking. I had to look at this for a while before I figured it out. It's so simple, isn't it? Laying on your back, I think, looking up at a lamp on the ceiling. And I just really, really like it. Again, this is just me. I would say it doesn't need to be cropped quite so tight, possibly just a little bit more space around it. But again, it's a different view of the world, isn't it? Do you remember, I think it was the last challenge we did in the old style photo lockdown, you know, from the apartment, which was PLD bonkers, you know, crawling around on the floor, seeing what things look like. What are the look at the cuckoo controls. What do they look like when you lay on your back on the floor and all this kind of stuff, doing bonkers stuff. This is a great example of that. I think it's really well done. Yeah, I had to look at it for a while, Yvonne, before I figured it. Great shot. I love this one too, from Hung Fat Dong. I think I just like it. I know, maybe I'm a bit weird, but I just like those shapes. And the detail to me is the brick. Now, I'm not sure, is that something someone's drawn on there? Is that a little piece of art that someone sort of snuck out from behind the drain pipe? Hung, if you're here, I'd love to know. I even love the dent in the pipe and the way it's just reflecting the light. But it's like, we know what we're looking at. We're looking at the detail. We're looking at that little graphic-y thing drawn on the bricks. I do like this a lot. I think there's something really strong about it to me. I just think it's an interesting image. It's what can I say? It doesn't necessarily, to me, it doesn't necessarily give a message or any great deep meaning, but I find it an intriguing image. It's an arty image to me. It's the sort of thing I'd expect to see, you know, on the wall somewhere. I really like it. I do. I really like everything about it. Oh, sorry. I'm actually now. Look, you see, I just regurgitated something someone else said. Is it Jenny? Someone at the comments gone. I think quicker than I could get there. Really nice. I thought this was great. Well put together detail from one of our obvious talents, Tori. I just like it. You know, the light, the angle. It is really cool. And yeah, you know, yeah, the little Levi logo shape in the zip, but it's just beautifully lit. It's just the symmetry is going on really nicely, you know, the way it all sort of V's down, and the light is great. Coming slightly from behind and to the left, it's such a simple detail, very close up, but very nicely done. And I know you appear in here quite a lot, Tori. I nearly had to kick you out, but I thought it was a good one. Sorry. Vim. I like this one a lot too. There's lots of things I like about this. I don't know what you think, guys. This is a genuine kind of a question. Now, to me, the way you've got this lit or the way you've managed light is really interesting. And the way you have made the detail the glass. Because it's kind of like the lace, or whatever it is, should be fighting with the glass, and yet it isn't. It's somehow playing second fiddle to the glass. There's something which I think is very subtle, and I like it. I like it quite a lot. I even, you know, I quite like the fact that it's on a slight tilty thing. Somehow it works. I don't know why. It just works. It's the light, the softness of the black and white. You've got some full blacks there. You've got some full whites there, and a great range of grey tones going on through it. Yeah, Moose was just saying the light looks flat, but it actually isn't. It's just soft and delicate and gentle, and I just love the light on the glass. It's really nice. Sue says underwear, undies, Reg Grandies. Brian, I think you've got a great shot going on here too. And I think it's another very clever shot because we've got all those details, plural, those little bubbles going on, but they're beautifully lit, backlight coming through them. the strength of the ones in the lower right and the way it gently sort of trails off up towards the upper left. It's a really accomplished shot, but it's whatever it is you got in the background which is drawing the eye. We know where to look because of the background, and to me, I think that's really, really interesting. So, because, you know, you could get lost in those bubbles. There's this gorgeous gradation of lighting going across them, but it's kind of like we know where to look in the picture because of what's going on in the background, and that's kind of clever. I think that's kind of clever. I'm just looking to see if there's blue WKD bottle. Is it? I don't know. But I do think it's a beautifully put together picture. I really do. This one I like a lot too, from Linda O'Neill. I do like this. I think the light could be a bit better, but it is, to me, a tiny detail in a big environment, and we know exactly what that detail is. It's only tiny. We know exactly what it is. You've got just the right little moment of the magpie coming into land, or potentially bouncing off the dome. I don't know, maybe you hit it hard and it's just going over backwards like that, like I nearly did then. But I do like it because we've got these strong structural shapes and that little tiny detail, and it's kind of a great exercise in, you don't necessarily need to have a big thing, because boom, we immediately know what we're looking at here. I think it's a really good picture. I do like it, Linda. There's another which I think is great, Ken Hanman, because we know what the shot's about straight away. It's a detail. It's in a subtle sort of a position within the shot, but we know precisely what this is about. How does it make you feel, guys? Where are you? What do you feel when you look at this? There's no kind of particularly clever camera techniques or anything going on. It's technically beautifully done, but it's like, how do you feel? How do you feel? Hi Ken, so I just read you said worked hard for it. I said there was nothing clever. I apologise. I don't mean there's nothing clever in that you didn't work hard for it. What I mean is you haven't done anything particularly fancy, but you worked hard to make the shot work. How do you feel, guys? Chilled, paradise, relaxed, holiday. Yeah, exactly. Warm. Get it? Yeah, Sarah's just saying more. Sarah's not just saying more, it says Sarah more warm. I totally agree. Forgive you, I'm getting all my words muddled. It's been a couple of very long days, had a few 5 o'clock in the morning starts and not been finishing till 10 at night at the moment. Working on a brand new online course, but more about that later. I shouldn't be saying that now. Ken, I really like it. The lines you've got, the light, the way it's coming in under the wood beams, the rope, the position, where you've got your camera, you know, the lanterns just sort of going back into the distance. That little hint of sunshine. Where is it, Ken? I'd love to know. Where is this? You're going to tell me that it's your man shack at the end of the garden or something, aren't you? And then we're all going to hate you because it's brilliant. Where is this, Ken? It's just such a great feeling that you've achieved within this image. I think it's fab. I'll keep an eye open in case we see Ken, because I know there's a delay and he's probably writing something. Meanwhile, I'm going to move on to Karen Beaumont, who I think has got a beautiful, subtle, gentle, soft picture. By soft, I don't mean it's out of focus. I just mean it's just so pastely, dreamy, a beautiful little detail. I don't know what that little spiky thorn is on the end of. I would assume this is a macro shot. It does look like a bird, Jules Vid, but it's so subtle, predominant green with these little splashes of that sort of lilac-y colour. It is a very truly beautiful, gentle shot, and that lovely little bit of backlight just caressing around the top of the little, I don't know what the plant is. If you're here, Karen, I'd love to know. But it is really a cracking shot. There's nothing more I can add. I think this was a great idea, Jeremy. I think this was a brave thing to take on as well, but nonetheless, I still like it, and this is why it's in my shout-outs. You've taken, and you've worked so hard. You've got a busy, busy, busy environment, and you've looked to see if you can find. Yes, we do hate you, Ken, at your winter home in Florida. Right, I hope you're inviting us all around there for a warm-up, because we're all cold in England. As soon as we're allowed out again, we'll come visit you, because we want to come and stay at your place. That's fantastic. Great shot. Jeremy, you did a very brave thing here, going into a woodland and searching out to find a way to separate a part of a woodland. And I think you've done it very well. To me, it's actually the light on that, I think it's a silver birch, just making it stand out against its background. I think your V shooting through the foreground's a good idea, but it might be a little bit strong. I don't think you needed quite so much of it to vignette it. But nonetheless, I still like it because it's a detail in a wood, and that's a really difficult thing to do. Fingers again, says Alec Murray. Why not? Let's see what happens. So how do we do it? I don't know. I'm gonna do it like that, I think, and just see if I can come in and just remove just a bit. Yeah. Do you know what? Try this, guys. Where the V goes up the sides of the shot a bit, try just taking the edges off a little bit and maybe coming in a bit at the bottom. I think just a hint of V at the bottom actually accentuates the tree more than having quite so much V. What do you think? But it's a very well thought out, beautifully done shot, Jeremy. Well thought out. Well thought out. I don't think Jeremy's here, but it's a great shot. What do you think, guys? Have you had a go? Have you done the finger test to see if we can just remove a little bit of the V at the bottom? It's only a tiny little bit less because there's such beautiful light on the tree trunk. You guys rock, you know. I love it. All over the world. I've got such power trip going on. All over the world, there's people going like this at computers and other people in the room going, what on earth are you doing? Good one. Good one. Where are we next? Because there's a few of these shortlist shout-outs again, because there's some very beautifully done pictures. This is another one I really like. Moira, I really like this one. Again, we know which of our details we're looking at. It's quite a classical depth of field sandwich, you know. But the way you've got the little spiky part of the leaf against that bright area, and it's almost on the edge of being too bright, that highlight. But I think just because the spike is kind of going in there, it just helps us know where we're meant to look, and the diagonal lines of the wood grain. Beautiful light, and I think it's a well captured detail going on here. Oh, Maura, you're very welcome. I think it's a beautifully done shot. It really is. You deserve a round of applause. Everybody, one of those for Moira. Tosh just asked, natural or flash? I'm going to take I know what I think. What did you do, Moira? Is it a flash or is it a natural? I'm just intrigued to know. I think it's a great shot. I think it's natural light. If you can say, Moira, is it no flash, natural light? Hey, yeah. It's just finding it, isn't it? It's seeing these things, noticing a little bit of light on the wood on the table and playing with it. Beautifully done. Awesome shot. Another one of our regulars actually here, Annette Vorm. I just couldn't help but like it. It's just, to me, it's the framing of the lamp against the blue and then the shadow on the wall. It's very similar to our bluebird that we saw earlier in the city. It's just kind of noticing something. It's a great exercise in seeing, in looking around and noticing what's going on around. And that, you know, yeah, we hear from you quite a lot, and you do see things very, very well, guys. You know, just it's always interesting, isn't it? You know, I look at so many of you guys, so much of your work, and think, I just think that's amazing. How did you notice that? You know, we can all learn from each other. I really like it. Here's another one which I think is fascinating. Terry Spurry. It's another one of those woodland shots. It's like you've found a big detail in an enormously busy place. And I really love the composition. It's kind of edgy, you know, the way you've allowed the shape of the tree branch to sort of flow around the crop, the shape of the image. And there's such beautiful light. And it's kind of a texture thing, isn't it? We've got all those little twiggy sort of trees going on, this great thick mass of twiggy trees. And then we got the big daddy, and looks like a bit of oak, I think, very ancient oak, looking at the bark. I could be wrong. If you're here, Terry, please correct me. But it's just the light on those, are they ferns or brackens? I think those are ferns, aren't they, if they're growing on a tree? Absolutely splendid. Absolutely gorgeous. And those soft sort of colours. It is so easy to kind of, if you did a bit of post-production work on it, to overcook it, to overdo it. And this is so delicate and gentle. Maybe you didn't do any. You don't necessarily have to. Diamosa, it's a cow's head. Is that what the plant's called, the fern or whatever? But it is, I think, just beautiful. It's one of those I can gaze at it. I can almost hear the forest somehow. And even the branch at the back. Initially, I was, let's do a finger test, guys. Let's do the finger again. It's like I was looking at that branch down, you know, the right-hand edge, and thinking, would it be better without it? And in all honesty, I did pop it into Photoshop to have a little look and did a little, well, let's remove it. Needs it. To me, it needs it. I don't know what you think. Get your finger and just remove it. With branch or without? This is one of those twig questions, I think. Sue says better without. Big old tree. Hello, Terry. Big old tree at Bolton Abbey with ferns, no post-production. Yeah, you see, great. Awesome. With or without branch? We're going to start a big argument here. Okay, oh, we've got quite a lot of widths going on. Finger test the other side, said Janet. I'll try. Just finger testing that side. You mean like take away some of the other side? No, I feel it needs all that space on the left. Needs the balance of the branch. Oh, cool. I'm glad you guys kind of... Oh, that's cool. You're agreeing with me. I kind of half expected a bunch of people to go, no, lose the branch, it's a distraction. But to me, it just adds life and dynamism. It's real foresty stuff. Great stuff, Terry. I found this one interesting too, just because it was a very different approach to the whole detail thing from Rupert. It's just different, isn't it? You got to love a grown-in car, haven't you? And the way you've sort of chosen the headlight, the car's eye as a detail, and yet you've photographed it with a very, very wide-angle lens to give it that shape, and it is strong enough that it holds itself within all of it. You know, the rusty car. I totally get the feel of it, and the detail within the car. We've got lots going on, but it's great. I have to ask a quick question. Is that a Herald or a Vitesse? Because they were very similar, weren't they? But I just know someone had a Vitesse, and I thought the grille was different. I'm sorry, I'm being boring here, aren't I? And I'm not actually a car buff at all. I'm not really that interested in cars that much. I'm a biker. Can't see any answer with the Vitesse question. But great shot. Let's get back to the photography. Look at the light coming down the wing. The way that light is just caressing that highlight, and it's bringing you back. It's not leading you to, it's bringing you back to the headlight. And the shadows, the little sort of shadowy reflections down the side. I think it's great. Okay, I stand corrected. Herald had one headlight, Vitesse had twins. Got it. Still, great shot. Let's get back to photography. Sorry, it's me, isn't it? Going off on a tangent. Nice one. Norrie Anderson. I think this is a very beautiful shot here of a detail, you know, of the mushroom. And I love that you're thinking to kind of wake it up. You've woken it up with a bit of light. I wonder if you, again, I'm being picky here because, you know, you're in the shout outs anyway. But you used light to make one of them stand out, and I think that's great. You're thinking, let's go and get a torch out of the garage because it's really overcast. Let's use a torch. Let's just kind of create a little bit more light here. That's what it's all about, that thinking. You see, your camera can't do that, can it? No, your camera's an idiot. I'm wondering if maybe a little bit more space, because I think the way you used a little pool of light just from a torch, just something as simple as that, I think it would have stood out just as well with a bit more space, but I'm not knocking it. It's a beautiful shot, Norrie. Well done. Well done. Jane, very different reason, but I like it. I like the power of this windmill. And I like the way you have drawn our attention to a single part of it. I really do. This is the sort of thing, it'd be so easy for the exposure to be completely wrong. If you know, some of you guys were a little puzzled at the beginning when we were talking about exposure and just tweaking it. This is a sort of shot where, left to its own devices, the camera will go, cool, that's dark, and it will try and brighten it up. It will try and make it too bright. You need to kind of be on these things and think, no, camera, I'm going to argue with you. I need this to be darker than you say it should be. I'm going to do what many would call underexposed, but it's not underexposed, it's the correct exposure. It's the exposure that the composition needed. Yeah, you're one of our kind of accomplished regulars here, aren't you, Jane? You know, look at Jane's stuff, guys. Take it apart. And many of the others too, because there are so many. But I love the way you've used that bit of highlight on that cloud to bring us to that one part of the windmill. Beautifully done picture, beautifully done picture. Very different one from Luca. I like, this is to me just all about framing. We've got this very strong graffiti water tower, I guess it is, but it's just the way it's framed. It's just the way you've got yourself in the right place to make it pop and stand out, and it just appealed to me. I love a bit of graffiti and sort of human weirdness in amongst a bit of nature. Personally, I'd be inclined to give it a bit more tree and a bit more nature because it's such a strong thing, but nonetheless, there's some great light going on that. And the light's quite high too. You know, look at the shadow. See how the lights, the shadow, the sun's sort of high-ish, but it's coming from one side, and that highlight on the one side helps it work. I think it's a really beautifully well-framed shot. Need to move on. We're nearly at 8:30 already. I'm waffling. The runners up, guys. We are with our runners up. We are getting into the points, and I think we got a great shot here from Gwen Williams with these ropes. It's just such a nice texture. And to me, the thing that I kind of like is, yes, the details, but I don't know why. To me, it's the sort of one from the right is where I go. It's not the one on the right, and it's not the three to the left. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4th from the left that just takes me, and that's a kind of subtle thing, and it's the way that light is just falling off, and somehow the framing of just cropping the one on the right a bit. I don't know why. But nonetheless, I always look at that one from the right. I just think it's great. If you're here, Gwen, it'd just be lovely to hear from you. But congratulations, I just think it's a great shot. There's not much more I can add to that. Great light, which is putting those little tiny shadows where the light is fading across, little bits of fray in the rope. Technically perfect, great exposure, pin sharp, all that good stuff. Congratulations. Very different take on the thought of detail here from Clive Barton. And I like it. I like the light. And I just think it's a great, different, creative take on detail. We've got a detail of the fingers and the pen doing some very detailed work. And I like that creative thinking. It's nicely done. I like where the light's coming from in front. It's just a well put together, very simple, nicely done shot, I think. Congratulations, Clive. This one confuses the hell out of me, but I can't help but love it, from Nancy. If you're here, Nancy, I'd love to know what this is, because I don't know. I really don't know, but the light is beautiful, and it's coming from behind and wrapping around something. I can see in the comments, a couple of people going, oh, I like this. Angie said it took me about 10 seconds to work it out, but I don't know why. I can't get it. Toothbrush! You're all shouting toothbrush at me, and I'm busy looking at the picture going, I still don't know what it is. Got it. Got it. I'm a bloke, you see. Now, if it was a little bit of an engine off a motorcycle, I'd have nailed it. That's cool. So cool. Do you know what? I genuinely did look at this for ages thinking, are they kind of fibre optics off some kind of trendy lamp or something like that? Got it, got it, got it. Nice one, Nancy. Congratulations. Awesome. Some sarcastic comments here. Hallelujah. Brown got it in the end. I like this one because I like the space. I'm moving on now because we need to get a move on because I've got a machine that's going to send an email to you lot in a minute, and if I haven't finished in time, there'll be a problem. Gabo, I like this. To me, this is another shot that could go on the wall, and it's a detail and it's subtle in a loud way. It's the yellowy colour of the lamp against the bluiness of the wall, that little pool of light, that bright filament, bang, it sucks your eye into it. And then you notice just kind of the way the light is hitting that wooden holder. And I like the fact it's kind of wonky. I like the fact it is a little bit of an angle. It's kind of edgy. It gives it, I don't know what, it just gives it a feeling of something, and I find it an intriguing and simple shot. You've got complementary colours, yellow from the filament, blue on the wall, yellowy browns in the wood, but the light on the wood is great. I just think it's a really nicely done shot. That's all I can say. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the technical term for wonky is, Lorraine, but I really like it. I just think it's a really nice picture, it's sort of thing, you just stick it on the wall and enjoy it. Now, I really love this one too, because in the theme of drawing your attention to a detail in a crowded space, I think Arun Kumar has got a great shot. And I'll be honest, I kept coming back to this a lot because you've used light and exposure and depth of field. You've got a very carefully composed shot. Look at all those uprights, all that busyness going on, and yet you have separated out that little bit of green going on in that little pot in the foreground. And there's so many things about this I like, and I have to confess I kept going, I really like that, I kind of want it to be my winner, but I couldn't because it's just a teeny bit overexposed, and I can see where you've tried to take that burnt light out. I don't mind a burnt highlight, but it's just that tiny bit too far. And that is why I had to give you a shout out, because I like the way you've separated a detail from such a busy environment, the way you've composed it, the lines going on in it, and it's bright. There's a happy feeling to it. And I think I probably would have gone, I like this enough to be my winner, but I just thought, I can't. There's just a little technical issue here. I'm not big on technical issues, but it's just that teeny bit overcooked in the highlights, just taking it down a fraction, I think, and it could have worked. But it's a great shot. And that, of course, takes us to our PLD Detail winner, which I think is a very simple and clever and beautifully lit shot, which I like a lot, by Diane Harper. So this is this week's winner. I just think it's like 3 details for the price of 1, and it's all done with light. It's so gentle and simple and obvious, and I feel like a kid in my mum's kitchen in the late afternoon with the light coming through the window. And, you know, did you ever see shadows like this on the wall when you were a kid? You know, when you're not much taller than the sideboard, and you're looking at kitchen utensils and things, and it's late in the afternoon, you know, and the light's coming in at an angle, and you see these shadows. I really love it. Technically, of course, it's beautifully done, Diane. It's, you know, what can I say? The exposure's bang on. I like the subtleties of light on the wooden spoon. I love the way we've got the shadow from the wooden spoon going on the background, but then we've got the shadow from a spatula that we can't see, and to me it's an easy picture to look at. Beautifully well spotted detail. Very nicely done. I don't know what else to say. Congratulations to you all for being here, and I think for doing such an amazing job that you are all doing with your photography, with your images and for joining in the challenges, because it's you guys joining in these challenges that makes the whole thing work. So what can I say? We kind of come to the end. We've spent an hour and a half looking at pictures together, and it's been my pleasure to speak to you and to have fun with you and ignore comments about ducks from you. It's been a great evening. We've got the next challenge coming out very soon. I'll be putting that live on YouTube in a minute, and an email. You know, if you haven't signed up to get an email notification, please, you know how to find the PLD page on my website. Go there, pop your email address in, because then we send you a little email with little bits of information, and I think they're pretty good emails actually, with little highlights, little things concerning discussions that have gone on in the group, etc. So pop to the PLD page on my website, pop your email address in there. Anyway, that email is going out pretty soon. It's a machine that sends it, not me. We make it, and then the machine sends it on time. I have to make sure I've got to do what I've got to do before it sends it. The next challenge is, as I say, for those of you in the UK and Europe and in many places across the world that are sadly going into more of a strict situation at the moment, you may not be able to go out and about and shoot things, but you know, you who've been around before, look at the amazing things you've been achieving in your own homes, and many of you still are. So, you know, just give it your best shot. And it'd be interesting to see what you come up with, because it's very closely related to everything we've talked about tonight. So I'm kind of hoping that tonight's live has kind of served as a little bit of a coaching session on things to look for the next PLD challenge. Yeah, what can I say? Thank you all. It's been a great evening talking to you. Have a great day, everybody who is getting up in the world, and have a great night, everybody who's going to sleep in it. I wish you all well, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care. Best wishes.